So let's talk about the power of belief for a second. So as we broke now, I'm shooting podcast after podcast today, getting a bunch done in one day. Feel like I'm on a roll. But Jim, my buddy here that I've known for 30 years, and again, big thank you to Jim for creating this studio and giving me an opportunity to get this message out. He was saying that he saw a psychiatrist, psychologist, what was it? Neuroscientist talking about Willard Scott. If you remember Willard Scott, comment below. Yes, I remember Willard Scott. And he said, they have given Willard Scott the credit for helping us here in our Western culture increase the lifespan, going from, say, 73 to 76 years old. Whatever the increase in lifespan was, they have given Willard Scott credit for that because he did one thing in his radio broadcast. And if you remember, when Jim reminded me, it came right back to me. Every one of his shows, at the end of his show, he wished happy birthday to a centenarian, someone who reached 100 years old. So that gave people the power to believe that it was possible to live to 100 years old. So what started to happen? People started to live longer because they saw examples of other people. Imagine this, for years, every single day wishing a happy birthday to someone who made it to 100 years old. If you listen to Willard Scott every single day, you are now being fed this information that's going into your mind subliminally, if not consciously, and you're now getting this data. That's why I always say, don't watch the news, because the same thing happens. This data is going into your brain, which is in your subconscious, which is going to be pulled up in a moment of need. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what is the data that's going in? We should start finding 100-year-old Jim every day. So Google 100-year-old, and I'm going to find one, and I'm going to wish a 100-year-old happy birthday today. If we find one by the end of this broadcast, I want to do that, because that's what I want to instill in you, the belief that whatever it is that you want is possible in your life. So there was something that I wanted to share with the power of belief, and it will come to me here in a second. I completely forgot what it was. There were two main things that I wanted to share on this broadcast today, but one of them just slipped my mind with the power of belief. It'll come to me in a second as we look for someone who was born 100 years ago today. Do we got anyone yet?
I got a list of 100-year-olds.
There's a list of 100-year-olds, and I'm looking at right now his computer, and they're just, there's tons of them. We've heard of the blue zones, right? The blue zones are the areas of the world where people live to be centenarians, people who live to be 100 years old. And there's a lot of similarities in those blue zones. And one of them, the thread across all of them, is community. If you're not in a positive, supportive community of people who help you believe what is possible, then the disbelief of what isn't possible is going to be what rules your life, and that will end up being the outcome of your life. So if you believe that because your family is overweight, and this is the story that you've told yourself forever, that is going to be what your reality becomes, because that's the story that you're constantly telling yourself. So what the heck was it that I was going to say with the power of belief? I had a great story for you that is important. What's that lady's name right there? Ruth Hesse. What is the secret to your longevity and good health? I can read this from here. Good genes and staying active and involved. Yep. So
majored in physical education.
Majored in physical education. So she's been an active lady her whole life, and she only looks like she's 80 years old, if anything. So anyway, look, man, go online and just for yourself, Google people who've lived to be 100 and start switching your belief system as it relates to what is possible for you. What do you want, man? Like, what do you really want out of your life? Is it to lose weight? Like, there are people all over the place that have lost 100 pounds, and they do it without Ozempic. They do it without getting their stomach cut in half. They do it with hard work and consistently and being active. So all you need to do, this is what I've done. With regards to fitness, I was training with Robbie Robinson not too long ago, the Black Prince of bodybuilding. He's 78 years old now, and he is more shredded than he has ever been. And when I saw him take his shirt off, and he looks better today than he did in pumping iron, he looks better today than when he competed against Arnold in the Olympia. All I needed to see was one 78-year-old who is shredded and ripped to know that I can be a 78-year-old who's shredded and ripped. Like, if one guy did it, I can do it. So when I got this diagnosis and I hired my doctor to help me with getting rid of the reasons I got cancer, the number one thing I asked him was, have you done this with anyone else? Is there anyone else that you put on the same protocol that you put me on? And before I asked the entire question, he said, absolutely. I have several guys that they only did one of the things that I'm having you do, and they got great results. So that's all I needed to hear. So I'm bought into this process that I'm doing that I know has worked for other people, that if it worked for them, it can work for me, because I know my work ethic. I know how hard I'm going to put in the consistency to get the result that I want to get to where I want to go. And I wish I could remember the other thing that I was going to say with regards to belief. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. As soon as we end this podcast, I want to remember what it is. And if so, I'll turn it back on and we'll pick it up. But look, the moral of the story here is this. If you believe that something is possible, you become the placebo. You are the person in control of the narrative that you set. You don't need to believe anybody else. If you're going to believe somebody who is pulling you in a direction that you've not yet been able to achieve on your own. Don't get sucked back into the vacuum of other people who love the company of other people in misery. And the reality of that is, the minute you come out of that misery environment, you're going to pull others out with you. And they want somebody to come out of that. And it really is belief that will get you there. And I know this stuff all sounds kind of out there, but it's not to me. It's the reality of how I live. It truly is. I believe in everything that I'm doing with regards to my process of defying my diagnosis. I believe that the work that I'm putting into my marriage is going to benefit me in a way that will make it whole and complete, and probably better than it's ever been. And even to the point where we can use it to help young couples that are struggling. I know this. I know that I can look younger than most 60 years. Like, I know this. And when I say something and I challenge anyone to come against me, there's nobody on the planet that can tell me any different. They can come up with all of the studies and all of the book knowledge that they want. But if they don't look as good as me, and they don't function as good as me, and they don't act as good as me, and they don't have as much energy as I have, and they're doing it all without drugs and all of this other stuff, then they have no business talking to me at all about it, because they're not qualified. So who is qualified in your life to speak into your life? Who is the person that you will allow to open the door with this concept of belief in what is possible? Is it me? If it is, thank you. Thank you for allowing me. And if there's anybody in your life that is doing the opposite, cut them off. People are in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And it's okay to let people go. I'm doing that more than ever. And I have no regrets, no remorse. I had a great time with certain people. They imparted a lot of great. I have no ill will to anybody, but when it's time to go, it's time to go, man. That's it. You're responsible for you at the end of the day, and that will ripple out into the people in your circle of influence. So the question I have for you as we end this today is, what do you believe? Make it a great day.